Hello everybody, good morning. This is All the Things, back with another book review. And today we're talking about a book that I really like, I really appreciate, and I learned a lot from. And that book is Crucial Conversations. Crucial Conversations was written by 4 people. You can see their last names here: Patterson, Grenny, McMillan, and Switzer. They got together and formed a council to write the book. So I thought that was cool. And before I start talking about the book, I came across this book in a very interesting way. So I wanted to give you some insight to that because it really does play into my experience with the book, and it might not be your experience with the book. But I had a job a while ago, and it was at a university, and the university offered improvement classes and stuff for the faculty, and that I was part of that. So I was like, oh, there's a class on how to communicate better. I'll take that because I get paid for it. I don't do my regular job, and I get to learn something. Duh. And so I took this week-long class, 8 hours a day for a whole week. I wasn't doing my regular job. I was just in this workshop. And it was about this book. So there's this seminar, I guess you can go to have somebody teach you this book, and everybody in the class, you run through these examples, and you're reading through the book. It comes with a study guide kind of packet, and then the different ideas in the book, you have exercises that you actually practice with the other people inside the workshop. So that was super helpful to me, and it gave me a really in-depth way of understanding the book and listening to other people's understanding of the book, and having a teacher there to try and explain the kind of stuff to us, taking notes and all that kind of stuff. You can go to that type of thing. The Crucial Conversations workshop or whatever, if you go on their website and stuff, you can sign up for them. I think they're $2,000, so shout out to the university for paying for that. But if you don't have that money or that time, or if it's still quarantine and all that kind of stuff where that's unavailable to you, this book has everything that was in that workshop aside from the practice sessions. So I still think this book is super worth it. This is a $20 book, so it's not $2,000, but yeah. So now that I'm done with my spiel about how I got into this book, and they gave me a free copy of the book during the workshop, bam, let's talk about what's in the book. So the book is called Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. And so basically, it defines this thing called a crucial conversation, and it has 3 elements. I'm going to try to remember them. It's when the stakes are high, if the conversation goes bad, there's real-world effects that you don't want to happen. Emotions are high, and you guys are not on the same page, or something like that. So you have these elements that come together to make this a crucial conversation where it's important that it plays out in a certain way. And not saying you're trying to manipulate a person or whatnot, but I think we've all had conversations where I'm trying to get something across, maybe I'm trying to help somebody, or maybe I'm trying to talk through something, but the way we're communicating really blocks us from having that dialogue. And it ends up being bad because it was really important for us to have that dialogue. And this book, Crucial Conversations, is about methods and ideas to make it more likely that we'll have dialogue. And one of my favorite things from this book is called The Pool of Shared Meaning. And basically, the book puts forth this idea that nobody is going to contribute to a conversation anything important unless they feel safe doing it, unless they feel like it'll add value and they're not going to get attacked for it. And you do this or do not do this in different ways that the book explains, and the workshop really explains. But if you don't make it safe for the other person to communicate, oftentimes they won't communicate, or they'll pretend to communicate when they're really playing it safe because they don't feel safe. And so I thought that was really interesting, where sometimes if you're having a hard time getting to somebody or having them reciprocate in something, maybe the way you're coming off, or maybe the topic, or maybe the place they're at in their head right now, their own situation, makes them feel like it's not safe to talk about that. And not necessarily like they're going to get attacked or kidnapped, but like there's going to be retribution for them having their ideas. So being aware of that idea of the safe space, and when things are safe, people contribute, and things are not safe, people don't contribute. I think that can help a lot with getting people to contribute and understanding that there's like that idea going on. And then the other idea that this book, I was like reading this book, and I don't know, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh. I had one of those moments, and man, the idea in here, it's called emotions change motives. That like made me think about conversations in a totally different way, where, as a short example, I highly recommend you read this book, but to kind of give you a short like teaser trailer kind of thing, like if I'm talking to Jim and I'm like, hey Jim, and Jim's like, hey Jordan, and we're like da 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 da. And I initially came in the conversation to, I don't know, maybe me and Jim are roommates, and I'm trying to tell Jim to wash his dishes. And that's what I came in the conversation to do. My goal is to explain to Jim that I want him to wash the dishes. But Jim gets defensive and says something that insults me, and I get angry. Now that I'm angry, my initial motive to try and get him to wash the dishes might change because my emotion changed. Like, now that I'm angry, instead of expressing that I would like the dishes washed, maybe what I express now through my anger is, you're an awful roommate. And that's, my motive has changed. It's changed from get the dishes washed to let you know you're a bad roommate. And now we're having a totally different conversation. And understanding that emotions can affect the way you think, or what your priorities are, or your motives, can help you navigate, like, oh, if somebody's getting emotional, or if they are emotional, maybe this is not the right time to talk. Maybe they're not going to contribute to that pool of shared meaning if they're being emotional, because they're not in the space to do that. So not necessarily manipulating people to manage their emotions and to make them feel safe, but making people feel safe and making sure you're talking to people in a way that doesn't enrage them or depress them or scare them. Because when people are scared, when people have intense emotions going on inside of them, they can act or think or decide in ways that they wouldn't if they were calm. And so understanding that and giving people like the benefit of the doubt, and maybe saying, okay, wait a second, we're getting really, really caught up here. This is getting really tense. I'm getting angry. Can we take a step back, or can we take a break, maybe talk about this later, or like, can we just breathe for a second? I don't like, and establish the shared ground where it's like, I'm not trying to make you mad. I'm not trying to get mad. I don't think that we're going in a good path, and can we like dial it back? Can we start over? And doing things like that, where sometimes the conversation kind of just veers off for whatever reason, and it's okay to set it back on track, even if it does that every 2 minutes. And that could be like the difference between having the dialogue and getting into an argument and telling him, hey, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Because I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm here to tell you to wash the dishes. But sometimes we get caught up. So this book, I've had some feedback from people I've talked to that's tried to read it that it's a little bit complicated. That may be true or not. I had a special case where I read it with basically a certified teacher in this book, like at the workshop, like helping me through it. So I'm not the best person, I guess, to say whether or not this book is complicated, because I had this workshop to help me with it. But I think there's a lot of gems in this book. I think if you can read it and understand it and have somebody else read it with you and practice the stuff in here, I think there's little practice sections where it gives you scenarios and says, hey, what do you do in this? What do you do in that? It can really help open dialogue and get you more likely to have a conversation and less likely to have an argument. And I don't know if you have good conversations in your life, but good conversations are so much better than arguments. And it's okay to argue, it's okay to disagree, it's okay to debate. But I personally think that when I talk to somebody, I'm trying to learn from them, and I'm trying to maybe bring to the table what I know and come away from the conversation with more than I got there with. And I'm not perfect. The people that know me, I am doing better as time moves on, but I think this book can really help you to think about conversations in some different ways, like the mechanics of a conversation, not what you're talking about, but how you're talking about it, and how the way a conversation goes affects what people think about and what they try to do in the conversation. So I think this is a great book. It's Crucial Conversation, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. And there's even like YouTube videos that show you from the Crucial Conversations thing that show you examples like, oh, in the office, this kind of conversation can happen. Do you see what went wrong? And it's like, this happened, then this happened, this has happened. If they would have had a crucial conversation, then it would have been different. And then they like film it again when they have the techniques and the training, and then it goes better. And they're like, do you see how it was different? And for me, watching examples really, really helps. Even if it's like super cheesy, if it gets the point across, it'll help me in my life. And there's good examples that are like filmed, scripted from the actual people that wrote this book. And I appreciate that a lot. And they're free on YouTube. So if you think that conversation is important and fostering or encouraging good, healthy conversation is important, this book can help with it. And I'm not saying it's the end all, be all, read this book and now you're a master communicator, but I think it has good ideas. I think it has good suggestions, and it comes with tons of examples. And if you're willing to drop like 2 G's, it comes with a live workshop where you can practice with other people. And yeah, I would suggest you pester your boss or your HR department to have this training rather than paying for it yourself, because then your coworkers can benefit from it too, and then you can like have better conversations if that's a problem. But I recommend this book, and I hope you read it. Anyways, this has been All the Things with another book review, and I hope you stay reading. I hope you enjoyed this and you found some value in it, and hope you have a good night.